Hello and welcome to this meditation for Nottingham Buddhist Centre. It's good to have you here joining me. Whether you're watching with me live on a Tuesday evening or whether you're watching this later on our YouTube channel, you are very welcome. So, whether you are somebody who's done lots of meditation before or whether you're somebody who has never meditated, this is going to be a guided meditation. So it will mean that even if you've no experience, then you'll be absolutely fine. I will be talking briefly about what happens in a meditation beforehand, and then I will be guiding you fully through the meditation also. So my name is Paul, and ever since the lockdown, ever since COVID happened, we traditionally have run these meditations on Tuesday and Friday lunchtimes and Tuesday evenings. We call them our drop-in meditations. But obviously, we can't have people coming to the Nottingham Buddhist Centre at the moment, so we've moved it all onto online. And you're very welcome to join us for any of these meditations during any of those times. At the Nottingham Buddhist Centre, we broadly teach two main meditations. One of those is known as the Metta Bhavana, and that stands for the cultivation of loving kindness. It's about creating a sense of well-being and friendliness for other people. But the second meditation, the one we're going to do tonight, is known as the mindfulness of breathing. It's a very simple meditation in many ways. Um, Legend tells us that it is the meditation that the Buddha himself was practicing at the moment when he became enlightened. So there's lots of potential in there for this meditation to have quite a deep impact on our lives the more that we practice it. But it is relatively simple. And what we've been trying to do during the lockdown period is to kind of give the meditations that we do slightly different flavors. I often will say to people that even if you've done a meditation 100 times, doing a guided meditation with somebody else can help you to see the meditation in a slightly different way, perhaps. So it's always worth doing meditations with other people and listening to what other people have to say about how they practice or some of the recommendations they may have. So the flavor this evening is about distraction. And I've entitled this one Working with Distraction. Now, distraction is something which affects everybody who meditates, at some to a greater extent than others, perhaps. The more that you meditate, the more you can learn to work with your distractions so that they don't hinder your meditation too much. But distractions are quite a normal thing. Our minds, it's simply how our minds work. Our minds do have a tendency to move very quickly from one thing to the next to the next. And a practice like the mindfulness of breathing can really help us to focus our mind and to actually calm down some of that chatter, which can be really quite disturbing at the best of times. It makes me think of an experience I had the other day, actually. I live in a quite an old Victorian terraced house, and they've got very old Victorian terrace walls of just one brick between them. So often you can hear a lot of what is happening with your neighbours. And one of my neighbours went to bed and left the TV on in the living room, and I could hear it in the background, not too loud, but I could just focus in on it. And I was trying to get off to sleep and finding it really difficult because every time I tried to go to sleep, all I could bring my attention to was the noise of this TV set. And our minds are often quite like that. Our minds are ticking along, and you may have had this experience yourself where you want to get to sleep, but your mind is racing. You've got so many thoughts going on in your head, one thought leading to the next, and it can be very difficult to move away from that distraction and get off to sleep and get a good night's sleep. And I think this is a useful image sometimes to have, that our mind is always there. It's always ticking over. There's always thoughts there. And sometimes I think we think that we are the mind, that is us. But it is possible to detach yourself slightly from that and realize that this is just thoughts. These are things that are just happening, and use various techniques to kind of distance yourself from what's happening. And this can be very useful in meditation. So, we're going to look at some of the ways in which we can introduce that into the mindfulness of breathing this evening. I heard also a good story, a good description actually, of how the mindfulness of breathing can be useful to us. Um, and it was talking about herding sheep, of all things. So, if ever you've seen sheep in a field, they generally go off doing their own thing, quite independent, until the sheepdog comes along. And if it's a good sheepdog, the sheepdog will rally them round, they'll get them all going in the same direction, through the same gate or over the same stile. And that's really what the mindfulness of breathing can help us to do. If you think of those sheep as all these individual conflicting thoughts, all going off in all sorts of different directions, that's very much sometimes what our minds are like. So, what we need to do is we need to herd those sheep. We need to get them all pointing in the same direction, focusing on the same thing. And once we achieve that, our mind can start to calm down. We feel much more focused. And also, we can often find that we have a lot more energy by making our thoughts focus in one particular direction. And energy is very important because when we have these, it's often described as proliferative, it's a hard word, proliferative thoughts, um, thoughts that kind of go spiral off one after the other. And if we're following that constantly, it can be really quite exhausting. Our energy is dispersed. So what the mindfulness of breathing can help us to do is really channel those thoughts, channel our attention, channel our focus in one particular direction. And one result of that can be is that after a meditation, such as the mindfulness of breathing, we can actually feel really quite energized. So, the mindfulness of breathing then is in 4 stages, and each of these are focused on encouraging us to focus on one particular thing, and that is the breath. So, in the first stage of the mindfulness of breathing, what you will be encouraged to do is simply to observe your breath, simply to focus on your breath. And after each out breath, you take a count. So, not out loud, but just mentally in your mind. So, you breathe in and breathe out as normally. And as soon as the breath has left the body, just mentally count 1. And then you repeat it. Breathe in, breathe out, and you mentally count 2. Breathe in, breathe out, 3. So you continue that process in the first stage, breathing in, breathing out, and counting with the aim of getting to 10 breaths. Okay, so you're bringing all of your awareness to your breath, breathing in, breathing out, and counting until you've counted 10 breaths. At that point, you return back to the beginning. So that's the first stage. In the second stage, we alter the focus of where we count. So we're just breathing as normally, we're not changing our breathing in any way. But what we do is we start the count before the breath. So we count, breathe in, breathe out, and then there'll be a slight pause. Then it's 2, breathe in, breathe out, and then a slight pause, and 3, breathe in, breathe out. So again, really important that you're only observing, you're following your own breath. You're not trying to control the breath in any way, but what you're doing now is you're marking each breath at the point that you breathe in. Okay. And once again, we try to get to 10. That is the aim. Sometimes what can happen during these stages is that we get distracted. And don't worry if you do get distracted. In fact, if you notice that you've been distracted, that's a very positive thing because you've got some awareness there that a distraction has happened and you can bring your focus back to the breath again. So the first stages are breathing and counting after the out breath. The second stage is counting before the in breath. In the third stage, what we do is we simply drop the counting, and all we need to do is observe the breath, the sensation of the breath in the body, and that becomes our focus without any counting. In the fourth stage, what we do is we focus our attention even further, because now what we're going to do is we're going to observe the sensation of the breath at the point where it enters the body. So as you're breathing in, normally this will be noticing the sensations of the breath as it enters through the nostrils, so around the outside of the nostrils. Some people experience it more on their top lip, and that's okay as well. Some people even notice the first point where the breath enters the body is a little bit higher up. That's also okay. It will be different for all of us. So what we're doing is we're shifting our attention to notice the breath at the point where it enters the body. But what we're also going to do as we go through, and I will guide you fully through this, is for the different stages, for stages 1 to 3, I want you to, as you're counting, just be aware of a particular part of the body where I invite you to notice the breath most, because sometimes I think as we're trying to focus on our breathing, if we're a little bit too broad, that sometimes doesn't help us. So in the first stage, I'm going to invite you to notice how the breath feels in the belly, in the very base of your abdomen. I sometimes like to think of it. I've got a bowl here, singing bowl, and I sometimes kind of like to think of a shape like that at the very base of my abdomen. And as I breathe in, that the air is filling that space, and obviously the air is leaving from that space as we exhale. So I'm going to invite you in the first stage to really bring your awareness to the breath in the belly, in the very base of the belly. In the second stage, I'm going to encourage you to think to be more aware of the breath in the chest, what I sometimes describe as the heart space, and perhaps being a little bit more aware of the rise and fall of the ribs in this area. Or maybe you can get a sense of the expansion of the ribs forward and backwards at the front and back of your body. In the third stage, I want you to be aware perhaps more of the whole abdomen, so kind of all this area from the chest downwards to the belly, and breathing into that whole space. And in the fourth stage, of course, our focus is going to be the nostrils. So go with it. I will guide you fully through that. If you haven't done this meditation before and you'd like a little bit more information, we do have now on our YouTube channel a meditation toolkit. And what that means is that we've got all of the meditations that we do, um, but we're describing them in much more detail. So if you want to understand more about the particular meditations, then that is available to you as well. There's some other good stuff in there as well, including how to get a good posture in meditation. Now, at the moment, I'm on a stool, which is how I normally meditate. But you can also do it sitting on the floor. If you are sitting, you probably want to sit on a bit of a cushion just to raise your hips a little bit. But if you're a complete beginner, it might be best to do it just simply sitting in a chair. And if you are sitting in a chair, a firm chair is better than a soft chair, because what we're trying to achieve is a nice, upright, alert spine. Because in meditation, you want to be comfortable, but you don't want to be so comfortable that you start to doze off, fall asleep. Okay. So also, in if you're sitting, you need to make sure that your bottom bones, your sitting bones, have got good contact with the chair, and also that your feet have got good contact with the floor. Okay. So if you've got those three things, nice upright spine, good contact with the chair, and good contact with the floor, you're doing well. One final thing to mention is it's always a good idea to have a cushion on your lap, whether you're kneeling or sitting, um, and just allow your hands to gently rest on your lap. If you don't have that, rest them onto your legs themselves. What you can sometimes find is you begin to get a little bit of tension in your shoulders or your neck. So just slightly raising your hand can be really a good thing, a really helpful thing for you. So, in which case, we will prepare ourselves for meditation. One of the things I didn't mention at the beginning is that there is a chat function on here. I assume that you can hear me from the fact that there are some people there, which is good to see. But if you have any questions or comments, you can put those in the chat function here on the YouTube channel if you're watching live. Okay, so we will now move into preparing for our meditation practice. The practice itself will probably be around 20 minutes. I will ring bells in between the different stages and, of course, remind you of what to do in those different stages. But what we will do first is we'll just do a little bit of an exercise just to help us to settle into meditation and really just bring our attention to where we are now. So what I would do is just gradually close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths here. Nice deep breath in. Pause for a moment before breathing out. Breathe in and breathe out. Try to make these first few breaths some of the deepest breaths of the day. And maybe as you breathe out, just notice some of that tension that may have built up during the day, just allowing that to disappear with the breath. Just take one more breath here. So what I'd like you to do is become aware of your body in space, in the space which you occupy. We'll start at the bottom, noticing your feet or your legs on the floor, and notice the contact that you're making with the floor. Get a sense of the floor supporting your feet or your legs. Notice how that feels. Try to make yourself feel really grounded, connected to the earth. As you bring awareness to your thighs, large muscles in the thighs which can sometimes hold a lot of tension. But as you allow yourself to feel more grounded with the earth, see if you can allow some of that tension to be drawn down into the earth as your body relaxes into your meditation posture. Bring awareness to your sitting bones, on your chair or your stool or the floor. And once again, get a sense of grounding, of connection with the chair or the floor where you are. Be aware of gravity drawing you down to the earth and making a strong connection between you and the earth. Notice your hips. You're holding any tension here at all? If so, as you sit tall and strong, connected to the floor, just see if you can allow any tightness in the hips just to gently ease away. Rising up from the firm support of our sitting bones, just bring awareness now to your spine, tall and strong. And imagine your spine stretching away, reaching upwards in opposition to the grounding of your sitting bones. So as your spine pulls up nice and tall, nice and relaxed, but alert. Notice if there's any tension in your lower back or your upper back. Notice any sensations here at all. Can you sense the clothing on your back? How does that feel? Gently move your awareness now to your neck and your shoulders. Just pay attention to where your shoulders are. If your shoulders are creeping up towards your ears, allow gravity once again to do its job. Allow gravity to draw your shoulders gently down to the earth as you become more relaxed in your meditation posture. Remaining strong, remaining upright. Remember that the head and the neck are an extension of the spine. Just visualize your head balancing on top of your spine in alignment with your hips and your sitting bones. Bring awareness to the top of your head, to your scalp. Do you notice any sensations here? Any warmth? Any tingling? And now bring awareness to what's happening in your mind. What's your mental state like at the moment? Is there much going on? Notice how sometimes we can get so involved in our thoughts that we feel that we are our thoughts. But I invite you to, almost like a TV set running constantly in your mind, imagine that you can step out of that TV set. Move your attention away from the activity in your mind and allow that attention, that focus, to move further away down into the sensations of your body. That activity will keep happening, that mental activity, but we can choose to focus elsewhere. Switch the TV off for a short period of time, perhaps. Bring your awareness to your torso, to your chest, to your belly, and notice where the breath is activating this part of your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the movement in your belly. As your breath enters your body, be aware how deep it penetrates into your abdomen. And then as you breathe out, how that breath is released. Bring your awareness to the lowest part of your belly, and just for a moment notice the sensations of the breath as you breathe in and breathe out. Try to keep your awareness of your breath in this part of your body as we move into the first stage of the mindfulness of breathing. Allow yourself to follow the pace of your breath. Noticing the breath as it enters and leaves your body. And gently after each out-breath, count in your mind 1, after each out breath. Continue counting. But be careful not to change anything about the breath at all. You are observing your breath as it enters and leaves your body. And at the point when a breath has left the body, simply count. So breathe in, breathe out. 1. Breathe in, breathe out. 2. Breathe in, breathe out. 3. Continue following your own breath at your own pace, continuing the counting until you reach 10 breaths, at which point you start once again at 1. If you find your mind wandering, you find that your attention has moved to the activity in your mind, just bring your attention back to the sensations of the breath in your belly as you breathe in, breathe out, and count. Be careful not to judge what is happening as you observe the breaths. Don't be concerned if you're getting it right or wrong. All you have to do is simply observe the breath in your body and gently count after each out breath. Remembering if you reach 10 breaths, to start over again, counting from 1. Continue to be aware of the sensation of the breath in your body. Be aware that the aim is to focus on the breath more than the counting. Moving now into the second stage of the meditation. This time, continue breathing as normally, but shift your awareness, your focus, to the sensation of the breath in your chest, in the space where you think of your heart being. Notice the gentle rise and fall of the chest, of the ribs. That sense of expansion, both forward and backward. And this time, just before you breathe in, gently count 1. Breathe in, breathe out. 2. Breathe in, breathe out. 3. Breathe in and breathe out. Continue at your own speed, counting at the point the breath enters the body. Once again, your focus should be on the sensations of your breath, gently marked by a count at the beginning of each breath. Don't change the speed of your breathing. Just breathe how your body wants to breathe and observe it. If you manage to count all the way to 10 breaths, bring your count back to start again at 1. If you find yourself being more aware of the thoughts in your head than the sensations in your chest as you breathe, just pause and bring that awareness back to the sensations of the breath as you breathe in and breathe out in your heart space. Just continue for a few moments more, observing your breath and gently counting each breath at the point it enters the body. Notice also how there is a brief pause just before each in-breath. Moving into the third stage of the meditation. Be aware of your breath as it enters and leaves your whole abdomen, whether that's noticing the breath in your belly, your chest, or movement in the upper chest and shoulders. Simply be aware of the breath in your body, this time without counting. Notice the sensations of your breath in different parts of your abdomen. Sense of expansion and contraction as you breathe out. Be careful not to judge the breath. Your breath is your breath. Simply observe this natural process. If you notice yourself thinking about the breath, just move gently away from that thought back to the sensation of the breath in your body as you breathe in and breathe out. In this moment, nothing else matters other than simply observing your breath. If your mind wanders, if your attention moves to your thoughts, find a point in your body where you can observe the breath, notice the breath, feel the sensations of your breath in your body. As we move now into the final stage of the meditation, we're going to gently shift our awareness away from the sensations of the breath in our abdomen, our belly, our chest, our shoulders. Notice the sensation first of the breath at the back of your throat. Moving forward to your sinuses, deeper parts of your nostrils. Notice the sensations of the breath in the nostrils themselves. And then bring awareness. Find the point where you notice the breath entering and leaving the body. This will be different for all of us. Perhaps you notice the sensations of the breath on the rims of the nostrils themselves, on the upper lip, or maybe just inside the nostrils. Be curious. Work out where the point of entry of your breath into your body is, and bring all your awareness to that point. How does it feel? Is it warm? Is it cool? Do you notice a gentle tickling sensation? Do you notice the sensations as your breath enters the body, on one side more than the other? Are there any parts in this area where you don't notice the breath? And do any of these sensations change with time? Keeping awareness of the sensation of the breath entering and leaving the body at the point where you notice the breath enter and leave the body. At this point in time, nothing else matters other than awareness of that point where the breath enters and leaves the body. Staying here for a few more moments, bring as much of your awareness to the sensations you're experiencing as you possibly can. How does it feel? As we draw the meditation to a close, just bring gentle awareness back to the whole of your body here in space, sitting or kneeling. Just notice if there's any changes in the sensations of your body as a result of the meditation you've just done. And in your own time, gently open your eyes and bring awareness back to your surroundings. After a meditation, it's always a good idea just to take a few moments just to readjust. I hope you've enjoyed this evening's meditation, or if you're watching it at a later stage. As I mentioned earlier, we're continuing to do our drop-in meditations online on Tuesday and Friday lunchtimes and Tuesday evening as well. And that will continue, so you're very welcome to join us again. But the meditations are now all available on YouTube soon after the event. So if you want to watch them again in your own time, you can do that. Obviously, we're still in quite an uncertain time. Nobody can predict what's going to happen in the next few months, and COVID has obviously turned everybody's lives upside down. We're very fortunate in many ways that we've been able to continue to deliver some of the meditations, some of the things that we provide from Nottingham Buddhist Centre, and we really hope that we're able to do that for many months and years into the future. Nottingham Buddhist Centre is quite unusual in many ways because it's run on what's known as a dana basis. That means it's a generosity, quite simply, which means that we rely on donations from people to run the centre to make sure that we can continue our work. Excuse me. That was poor timing. During the lockdown period, it does mean that we can't hire out our rooms. It means that we haven't got people coming into the building giving donations, and we do risk having a shortfall for what we need to run Nottingham Buddhist Centre. So if you are able to donate, I would be very grateful if you could do that. You can do that in the YouTube channel itself. There is a link. Or alternatively, you can go onto the Nottingham Buddhist Centre website, and on the page there, the front page there are different options in terms of how you can donate to the work of the centre. If you're not able to donate, that's perfectly fine, and you will be welcome here whenever you wish to come along. But if you are in a position to donate, that really does help us, and we would be extremely, extremely grateful. So I hope you found the meditation useful. I hope it's given you some food for thought about distraction and how we can work a little bit with distraction in meditation, and hopefully improve the quality and the results of our meditation because of that. So I hope to see you on one of these events soon. Thank you all for attending, and go well, and take care.